All right, guys, Music Universal Language Podcast. This is the 19th episode. Today I got another guest who I've known since high school, and he's been doing his musical thing since then, if not before. But welcome to the podcast, Mr. Brandon Payton. What's up, man? Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, thanks for being on, man. It's been a while. I know we've always kind of kept in contact over the years. We briefly saw each other in Milwaukee. We did that one show. Was it a record store?
Yeah,
That was
that's
cool.
right. Wasn't it the Bob Marley tribute show?
That was right. Yeah. It was around 420, I want to say, something like that.
Yeah, it was the anniversary of, I believe, his death date.
Oh, that's right. Which is
Yeah,
damn, when is that? Probably coming up.
yeah, it's
Sometime in
coming up
April.
next month, I believe. Like
It's
the
not this
second
month.
week of May or something.
Okay. Okay. So sometime in the spring. Yeah, that was a cool show. And you had what, a 5-6 piece band at that one? I think I.
Yeah, it was kind of a makeshift band that threw it together. Had a couple friends that were really good musicians and a couple who weren't as good, but we made it work.
Right. Well, yeah, like I was saying in the intro, I've known you since high school, and we all had our little punk rock crew of, it was, I don't know what it was, 5 or 6 bands amongst, 12 or 15 guys or whatever. And we all knew you and were friends, but you kind of were doing your own thing, and were kind of doing more classic rock, maybe a little more blues. And I guess you were playing with some older cats who were older in high school and whatnot. But well, how let's go a little even further back. How long have you been actually playing music?
I didn't really start playing music until I was 15, so pretty much high school.
Okay, that's right when you got into it.
Yeah, before that, I remember singing in like gospel choirs at church, but I was
Right.
so bad that A, they didn't want me to clap, and B, they just kind of put me in the back.
It's try to blend in.
Yeah, this is blend in. I don't have time to deal with you being off key or whatever.
Right.
But the urge was always there until when you're 13, 14, 15, it's like shit or get off the pot. Like, all right, if you're gonna do this, you can't be so shy. You
Right.
gotta just do it. You gotta step out. And
Spe-
that's when I bought my first guitar.
Oh, right on. So were you I take it you're already into music pretty heavy. Were there any particular bands that you wanted to or artists you wanted to sound like or imitate on the guitar, so to speak?
Yes. So like number one was Hendrix.
Nice.
Um, Number two was Prince.
Nice.
And then number three was actually Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins.
Wow, that's a good mix, man. You kind of got, what, grunge, funk, and classic blues rock. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool, man.
It's
Oh yeah.
basically that high energy. So it's the kind of same thing that you would what gravitates most people to punk rock. That fuck you kind of let's get
Mm,
energetic, but with the groove that um, doesn't stop. You're not breaking the groove at any time.
right. So in a sense, did you almost want to combine all those sounds, or just kind of do a little bit of each per?
I had a dream of combining the sounds, but it's almost like you can combine two out of those three without sounding stupid.
Exactly. I would imagine trying to do some Smashing Pumpkin meets Funky Prince or something. I don't know. Maybe it could
Yeah,
work. I'm sure other people have attempted it too. So who knows?
yeah, it's a tough combo, but the angle into that one is the post punk side of the Smashing Pumpkins with the
Mm.
early post punk new wave side of Prince.
Oh,
That's
there
how
you
you did
go.
that.
Yeah, because they both kind of have that more upbeat rhythm and whatnot. Yeah, that's a good point. That's cool.
Yeah,
All right, so you're big into them, and did you start taking lessons or just start?
yeah. So I started taking lessons first with my cousin who was a local bass player in Beloit,
Oh, right
where
on.
I'm from Beloit, Wisconsin. Shout
Yeah,
out.
yeah. V
Um,
Town.
And then after that, local legend, guitar legend, Pistol Pete. Do you remember
That's,
Pistol Pete?
yeah, that's what I thought. I thought you were a prodigy of his. No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
he was cool.
crazy,
A lot of
man.
people
Like,
took lessons from him. Like what? Bill McCauley. I think did Wade too. Wade Yount.
yeah, Wade, all of those guys. David Brock. Um, that was how he got lessons. Everybody was like, "Oh, we're all taking lessons with Pistol Pete." And you're like, "Well, damn, I need to get lessons from Pistol Pete too," because
Right.
they're actually were really good guitarists.
Well, and so like Pistol Pete was this guy known locally and regionally. He would rip the blues, play Hendrix stuff, and also he would do the beer bottle slide trick. I've seen him do that before. But yeah, so he was a known guy, and he also gave guitar lessons. So yeah, Pistol Pete, good guy to learn from for sure.
Yeah, great showman. He's still doing it. I follow him on social media, and he's still ripping up bars in Chicago, in
Nice.
Rockford, and
Oh yeah. I think I saw
yeah,
him in Beloit probably 15 years ago. Yeah. But he was killing
yeah.
it, man. You know, I was like 25 or something. So no, not 20. I'm not that old. Shit. Right. All right. So did you yeah, you took lessons for him for a while or just enough to get your groove?
I took lessons from him for close to a year.
Right on.
The thing that he taught me the most, because I came to him already because I was a nerd. I read a lot on theory and I
Mm,
knew the chord stuff. You know, I was playing like jazz chords by 15, 16 already before I took lessons with him.
right on.
But what he taught me was the importance of practice and
Right.
repetition. Just because you know a chord or you know a scale, you don't really know it.
Right. Well, until you get it like muscle memory, your fingers just know what to do, right? Kind of
Exactly.
look without
And I
playing, so
had
to speak.
brain memory. I'm like, okay, I see the pattern, do 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 do. But
Mm,
because of that, I'm not running the scale cleanly enough. You know, I needed to start slower
right.
and kind of build up. And then there was also a lot of different like minor technique tweaks that I had to learn over time to really get a cleaner tone and precision and timing, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and all that just kind of comes naturally just because you're kind of like searching for a sound you want.
Yeah,
I mean, as you said, especially between like, the artists that you mentioned, they all kind of have their own signature guitar sounds in a sense, in all very, very different genres, but definitely their own sound, I would say. You can recognize any of their licks, pretty quickly.
yeah. Even just a guitar tone. Like if they
Mm,
just played one chord, oh, that's Prince, or that's
yeah,
Hendrix, or that's Corgan.
totally. Yeah, and that's I feel like that it comes naturally after a long time of doing it because it's almost like even when you can play something that is like the same notes or the same lick as Hendrix or whoever, the tone thing, it's almost like another development in like your ear, like training your ear. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
over time you get more and more recognizing of the tone, like you said, like maybe you sang way off key in choir, but eventually if you keep singing you're gonna recognize, oh, I hear how off key I am. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So
and then you also learn how to sing is another thing too. I think people when they approach singing is like, oh, my own personal expression, blah blah
mm,
blah. And part of that is true, but it's also an instrument. If you approach your voice as an instrument,
right.
then you can mitigate all of that, you know, those tone issues, those pitch issues. You can build that repertoire of licks. So you can do, if you want to do fancy melismas, you can. If you want to just get a graspy, like gutter sounding voice, how to do that without destroying your voice.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Well, it's like I think I learned that the hard way because yeah, you should definitely, I think you should learn it as an instrument first, your voice, before how you want to express it. You know what I'm saying? You got to like know the rules almost before you, because I just basically did it backwards, and I sang off key forever too. I mean, I'm still not perfect, but it's like I had the
No,
expression first before the training of the the instrument, I guess.
yeah, you're a pro now. When we were
Right.
baby musicians, you know, we were all trying to figure it out, and it's weird because I think there are things that I could have learned from you at that time
Mm,
that my own insecurities wouldn't allow me to pick that up, and
right.
I think vice versa as well.
Most definitely. You don't know how to, because it's like you're almost like subconsciously competing without knowing it, and yeah, everybody wants to like sound the best, and without even realize it, you almost start like imitating each other. And like our whole thing, the Supermints were the best band, and coincidentally, they had the oldest members of our group. What a coincidence! And so like a lot of us kind of imitated that sound, especially they're literally the younger brother version, Battletoads. So,
Yeah,
but it's almost inevitable, and when you're all kind of into the same stuff and you're all learning at the same time, you're imitating the artist you're into, and then you start almost imitating your friends without realizing it. But yeah, so since you were kind of learning the more blues and rock and jazz angle, you kind of drifted towards people who are into that, who happen to be a couple years older than you.
yeah. They were minimum 2 years older. Some of them were even like out of high school, but they still hung out with high school kids. Like,
The musicians, right? Yeah.
yeah, they weren't the creepy ones where like they were hanging out with like they're like 25 and we're all in like high school.
Right. They're
They
like
were
1920, like, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Maybe they had a gap year in college, or they went to like a semester of college and didn't do well, or didn't ran out of money or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, how long did you like take lessons or play by yourself before you actually started jamming with people? Was it quick, or is it?
The embryonic stage was pretty fast. So once as far as with guitar, voice was a little longer. It took
Right.
me about 3 or 4 years actually, where I was actually singing in a band from when I started. But when I started playing guitar, it was I don't know if you remember the band Stalefish.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was a founding member of
Were
Stalefish.
you the original second guitarist?
Yes,
Oh, dude, I think now it's ringing a bell. I think I remember it, but was it pretty brief or?
it was pretty brief. I mean, part of it was a I wanted to push our musicianship further and faster than where we were at, and I didn't
Okay.
quite click that with the rest of the guys. And then
Right.
also my mom, I was under ball and chain as a kid. Without getting in too much of like my household background, but there was a lot of gang stuff in and around me, and what I was not the what I was doing, but the fact that it was around.
Right.
My mom put a like, oh well, practice ends at 10 o'clock. Well, you need to be home by 8:30. I'm like,
Oh,
whoa,
damn. And yeah, so you didn't get to go to much of the parties or
yeah,
what
none
have
of the parties.
you. And then yeah, even just limited to practice, and yeah, that's rough, man. It's true, man. Just Beloit is rough enough to you can be influenced in the wrong way for sure. So you kind of see, I'm sure you see like both sides of it now, but
Yeah,
it's a fine line between overprotective and protective, right?
yeah, yeah.
But anyways, so okay, so that kind of like was part of it. Like for one, you wanted to push them more, and two, you couldn't always like be there. Cause yeah, Kevin used to like have his little crazy slumber parties or whatever you want to call them. A
Yeah,
dozen dudes
I think it was
hanging
almost
out, getting
one time I
drunk.
almost got allowed to go to one of his little slumber parties, but it just didn't happen.
Like she had to like
And
meet Kevin, and oh, he's not that bad.
yeah,
Right on.
while the classic rock kids, which I think they all evolved into either stoner metal or they all kind of went different ways, funk, whatever.
Yeah.
They practice in the daytime at like noon on a Saturday.
Oh, right on. So
So
that
yeah, so we would jam all day.
hell yeah. So was
Yeah.
this like 16? You're already jamming with them, or
Yeah, by 16, I was jamming with them. 17.
cool?
Um, by the time 18 rolled around, most of them already graduated. But by then, I had enough of a group of people where I'm like, okay, I can put together a band. We can try to do something.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you did. So you kind of did their thing for a little bit, and you guys were mainly doing like classic rock covers and
Yeah.
stuff like
So
that. And
think
and
War
who
Pigs.
and who and
Think
who was in this band?
this band had Kalyan Roy on drums.
Okay.
Bass was Jordan Sins.
Okay. Yep.
Occasionally, David Brock was on guitar, but then Jesse McCauley would have been on guitar for a while. There was like a shit ton of guitarists that would just kind of cycle in and out.
Okay.
Nobody played keys. If someone played keys, they would have been like,
Who played bass?
bass was Jordan Sins.
Oh, okay. He was okay. And then, but it was Jesse, not Billy, or not Bill McCullough.
Uh,
Or
yeah,
both?
just so like Wade. Sometimes Jesse would jump. Um, Wade would play guitar. There was like, I mean, like the guitar. Sometimes there would be like six guys on guitar jamming. But then what wound up happening later, once there were shows involved, so Adam Pearson became the vocalist,
Okay.
and then there was like Wade Yount was like the guitarist, and then they made a record.
Oh.
I forget the name of the band, but
Okay.
they recorded it. It actually sounded pretty damn good. I wish I still had that cassette, or I probably do.
Somewhere.
It's probably in my mom's basement somewhere, you know?
Right. The stuff that never gets moved or
Yeah.
touched. Okay. So you did the thing with them, and then you're like, I want to do my own thing. Were you kind of like not into the cover thing as much, or you're just kind of like getting your feet wet?
I always wanted to be a songwriter. You know,
Right on.
I always thought that covering, and I still do, covering songs, even though I do have a couple covers and I do them, it's overall, spending a lot of time on it was a waste of my time because I
I
never knew anyone who got put on by being a great, cover artist.
I totally feel you. I totally understand. Yeah. And it's a big part of like why you got into the instrument. Like you want to have your own outlet and expression. So
Yeah,
by playing other people's music, how far does that go? You know what I mean?
exactly. Exactly. Unless you're one of those people where you're like an Elvis, where you just love singing and you love singing and playing guitars, but you know that wow, I'm really limited on songwriting.
Right, or you love entertaining too. Like you just love being that person who does that.
Yeah, they just want to show up. They know the material and rock it out,
Right.
and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just for me, I was drawn to Prince because of his musicianship and his songwriting. I was
Right.
drawn to Hendrix because of that. I was drawn to Billy Corgan because of that. I was drawn to Freddie Mercury because of that. I was drawn to David Bowie because of that.
Right. Right.
So
Hell yeah. Okay. So then what did you start? And when was this? You're like 17, 18 by this point?
yeah, so 17, 18, I don't know if you remember the Big Kahuna, which was
Oh yeah.
the dance that we had. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
I had a band called Lotus Child.
All right,
That
this
was a
is
three,
yep. And did you play when you were junior or senior?
I played,
Or
I
both?
believe it was the first one, which was junior year, my junior year.
I might have caught this one. I don't know. I think I was there sophomore and freshman, but
Okay,
you're
you
older
were
than me. You're
definitely
older
there,
than me. Yeah. So then,
probably in
yeah.
and around.
Right.
I went on way before like the Supermints.
Okay. Right. Exactly. That was my little crew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lotus
But
Child. Hell yeah.
it was fun. I had a hip hop drummer, which was kind of cool. Bass player. Um,
Who
he was into more classic rock, metal kind of thing.
who was on drums?
On drums was John Wexler.
No shit,
Yeah,
dude. That was like one of my oldest friends, dude. John Wexler.
yeah,
Oh, he's awesome. Dude. He totally was a hip hop drummer. That's why he got into playing drums, basically.
yeah. He
That's
loved
fucking
drums.
cool,
Like,
man.
and 3 6 Mafia was his favorite group at the time.
Because he do like the tight hi hat, whatever, fast pitch, fast paced hi hat.
Yeah, essentially, he would play because the secret to that is all that music's in halftime.
Yeah, yeah. The kick and the snare are like
Yep.
half of what the hi hat is, basically.
Yeah, so the hi hat's just like normal, but when you have it in halftime, everything seems like it just speeds up and it stutters a little bit more.
Right.
So he was able to do a little bit of that.
Right on.
And then I was trying to do my best Hendrixy light thing.
Okay. And
Hendrix and Prince light.
Who was on bass?
Bass was Rick Scully.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. Big, solid dude. I'm not going to call him fat, but he was definitely solid at the time.
Right on.
He was a little bit older than us. Older than me by like a year and a half or so. Yeah, he was a cool guy. Good, solid bass player. Somehow, I wound up snapping his bass string once, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't know you can do that.
Yeah, that's hard to do, man.
Yeah. But,
And so it was a three-piece? You guys were three-piece?
Yeah, it was a 3-piece.
Cool.
I was obsessed with the power trio at the time. You know, like all the cool bands were a power trio, which
Right.
isn't true, but
Well, it's like we don't need that extra guitar. We can pull it off without it.
yeah.
Hell yeah. So was that kind of the main event for you guys? Was the Big Kahuna, or did you
Yeah,
do...
that was pretty much it. It didn't really go much beyond that. Like, so then, you know, at that point, we're transitioning from high school to college, or, you know, and that's when things got really interesting for me, particularly. Because I started playing in a group called Salvame, which was kind of a trip hop jazz influence like band in Rockford, Illinois.
Like Diggable Planets style thing, or
Kinda. It's definitely
trip hop, I guess that can be. Yeah.
I'm trying to think as like a jazzier Portishead. Because we had a female vocalist.
And so you were where did you go to college after high school?
Man, I went to like so many colleges.
So were you in Beloit still at this point?
At this point, I was still in Beloit. So what happened was I went to Georgia for the first time, came back after 6 months.
All right.
And then I kicked around at URock, and while I was there, I was playing professionally and got my first kind of professional gigs in Rockford.
Right on. And so you were playing guitar for this trip hop.
Surprisingly, I was playing. By this point, I picked up keyboard.
Oh, no shit. Cool.
Yeah.
And so was this like keys and a drum machine, or was it a full band?
It was a keyboardist, which was me, drummer, bass player, and a female vocalist.
And you guys are called
Salvame.
Oh yeah, that's what you said. All right, cool.
Yeah,
right,
you can probably still find that stuff on like Spotify or something. I remember there was a falling out. They eventually kind of kicked me out of the band. Egos, essentially. But
damn, I
recorded on the first album. They erased my credits on that, which was bogus. But
what's the album called?
Like,
we're gonna find it.
I had the band, but I still played on the record.
What's the album called? We're gonna find it. Put it in here.
Yeah, it was called The Flavorlessness of Water.
The Flavorlessness of Water. Okay, right on.
Yeah, I didn't come up with it. I was off this. It was a stupid title, but the drummer was obsessed. Like, well, I always wanted an album called the flavorlessness of water.
It's like, yeah, who cares what you always want? Right
Yeah.
on. So how long did this last? Just like 6 months, a year?
I think I was with
Enough to do
them
an album.
close to a year.
Right on.
And then um, I eventually, once I got kicked out, that's when I formed my spite band, which was the Blackberries.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. And this, and then you was this when you moved to Milwaukee, or you started it?
There was an aborted version of the Blackberries in Janesville.
Interesting. Anyone I know in the band? Or?
I wouldn't think so because these were all guys from. By this point, because I was going to URock, University of Wisconsin, Rock County. I met a bunch of folks from Janesville, Milton, Wisconsin, like country fucks.
I was gonna say Milton.
Yeah. We played, and where we rehearsed was actually in a barn in Footville, Wisconsin.
Oh, that's that's crazy.
Yeah.
Surprised you survived, man. Shit.
Yeah, I actually, it was a dark period of my life. One of a couple dark periods.
Huh.
But I made a decision once I moved to Milwaukee. I was like, all right, I got all these songs. I was able to work out all these songs with these other guys who couldn't pull it off.
Right.
And
but
then
you were all ready for them, so.
Yeah. So I took drugs for money and got a bunch of cash, enrolled in the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and didn't look back.
And what year is this?
This was 2005, 2006.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you stayed in Milwaukee for a while, and you kept the Blackberry name going for a while. And yeah, how many members you think you had of the Blackberries in Milwaukee?
Total, I would say, if I excluded the folks that just kind of passed through, like they weren't really serious,
right?
I'll say about 10 total.
Right on. And
but
normally like a 3-4 piece band.
Yeah, it never got much beyond 4 pieces.
Okay, cool.
I had a wonderful guitarist, and she stuck with me through majority of that time period. Her name was Emily Zimmer. I had Jordan Sins back on bass, and he would just commute from like Sheboygan to jam.
No kidding, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I had a multitude of drummers. That was the one that kind of kept revolving.
Yeah,
we had
drummers
to always
can be
find
hard.
a new drummer.
For sure. So, and then you said the female guitarist, she kind of stuck around the longest, or?
Yeah.
Right
she
on.
stuck around to record actually would have been the second Blackberry album.
Okay.
But by that point she left. And I was like, I don't want to go by the Blackberries anymore. It's like, yeah, we had a local radio hit in Milwaukee. That was cool, but by that point, it just felt played out,
Yeah, what was that song? I remember that. It got stuck in your head.
It was called Birthday Cake.
Birthday Cake. How's that melody go, man?
It was like, 'cause I long to make you mine. Because I long to make you mine, oh mine, oh mine. And something like that.
And 88.9
like
would rock it?
Yeah, 88.9 would rock that shit. The thing, the bass line, the bass groove was killer. That was what really kind of sold people on it. The vocal melody was great, a good performance. It was a nice tempo, about 120.
And so just had that good, funky, grooving bass thing. And so was this on the first Blackberries album?
Correct.
And what year did that come out?
That came out 2008.
Okay, cool. So And yeah, all right. So that kind of took off as like a local hit. And what's like some cool opportunities? Any highlights from this period of the Blackberries
Yeah,
saga?
so we were able to start to get into festivals.
Right.
So like we played Pride Fest.
Right on.
Um,
You can
we
say hi,
played.
man. Say what's
Sorry
up.
about that.
No worries, man.
Got a fan. Uh, but yeah, we played Pride Fest. That was like the biggest stage we played on. But
Yeah, it's at the
we
fairgrounds.
played, yeah, we played everywhere from Kenosha, Madison.
Right on.
Um, there was a lot of opportunities that got open from just being associated with 88.9 at that time, Radio Milwaukee.
And did you
It
guys
was a fun period.
did you record it in any like a cool local studio or legendary?
Yeah. So that album was recorded with Shane Hotstetler of Howell Street Recordings. I don't
Oh,
know if
that's
you're
right.
familiar
Yeah.
with Howell Street Recordings.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, that was we recorded at their first location in Bayview, and we did it for like $600.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
And what was the album called?
that album was called So Obvious.
So Obvious, 2008.
Yeah, and
And
that's still out. You can find that on Spotify, all that digital.
yeah, totally.
Yeah,
That's cool though. It's cool you got the the local radio thing, and yeah, that can bring out a ton of opportunities, especially like 88.9 has a huge following in Milwaukee, so I feel like
yeah.
you probably
We had 889 Love and actually WMSE.
Yep.
They would rock us, but I didn't listen to them as much because I had to tune into certain shows and stuff, which
Right.
made it difficult for me because I was always like, I just want you to play whatever while I tune in,
Yeah.
as opposed to like, man, I gotta listen to this lame show by this lame DJ I don't like, but
Right.
and I gotta wait for someone else I like, whatever.
I feel that totally. Yeah, and that's definitely like when you're there, it's a big part of the culture scene, just getting into all that and supporting the local art. They support a lot of local artists, so that's appreciated for sure. So was it basically? So you guys only put out 2 albums, so by the second one, things were kind of like you wanted to go a different direction. You were saying?
So the second one, the thing was musically, I still was into this kind of post-punk, indie pop kind of thing with groove to it.
Mm.
I still haven't mined that sound completely, but I just got tired of being in a band doing all the work,
Ah.
and then everybody else kind of wanted all the credit.
They want to reap the rewards while not putting in the time. Yeah, I totally get that, man, for sure. So is that just kind of like a reoccurring theme of like, oh, here I just put my all into it, and they show up and say, "Where's my money?" No.
Yeah, essentially, like you did it the right way from the beginning, where you're just like, "Fuck it, Jacob Green band."
But in Milwaukee, I had River Water Tribe, and it was a very similar story. And that I almost resorted back to Jacob Green after that shit. So I totally know what you're talking about. But yeah, it can be rough, man. And that's like, it just seems like people don't realize, like, how do you think we get these opportunities if someone's not busting their ass? And then you can't just like give them a little appreciation or respect, you know what I mean? Because like there's so much stuff behind the scenes that I guess people don't realize, and most band members just want to show up and play, and everyone wants to get paid at the end of the night, but it's like a lot more that goes into it, obviously. So
yeah, the booking, the writing, the material, the graphic design, you're doing all of that stuff, and then they just show up, and then they can dictate, well, I just don't like the direction of this. Like,
it's like, wait a
really?
second.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And then
All right.
one
Sorry.
thing too, local success, particularly with the 889 and the Blackberries, which was a reason why I kind of decided I wanted to get rid of that, was my bandmates weren't quite mature enough to handle it.
Hmm.
So after a while, even though we would get bigger gigs, get
Mm-hmm.
more high profile,
Right.
the criticism of me is like your voice is trash. I can't believe I don't even want this album out. Like we had a drummer to quit like a week before the release of our record.
What? Like the
Yeah,
second one?
said my voice was trash. And hey, I wasn't the greatest singer at that time. I evolved, and this was
Right.
pre, everybody had access to auto tune or doing that, so whatever,
Right. Right.
But it was. They were like, I can't, I can't stand behind this. While I'm like, if you look at this, we're getting better. We're getting more high profile. We're getting more in the public view.
Yeah.
Something's working.
Right. Exactly. It's almost inevitable. Just dedication.
Yeah.
And they're
And
still
there's
not.
always somebody, and there's always going to be some asshole that had something to say about it. Like this is when like American Idol was like new, so everybody thought they were Simon Cowell.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Damn.
Yeah.
So when did you retire that name, the Blackberries? When did it officially come to an end?
2010, and that's when it was like Brandon Payton-Carrillo, and then the Love Is Loud, the backing band. But even that, after a while, having the backing band idea just got played out for me.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of musicians, they're like, well, I don't want to be a part of a backing band. I'm like, okay. I mean, you still have, I'll give you the credit. You get all this other stuff. Well, for a while, I even retired just having my name in front. But I went back to it because I was always a constant.
Yeah. 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 So you guys are temporarily just the Love Is Loud.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it was what it was. And we released a couple albums under that moniker, different musicians. And this spanned from Milwaukee to Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say.
And then by the time I made it back to Chicago, I think I was pretty much done with the idea of the Love Is Loud being a backing band, and
Put it on the shelf.
yeah, just put it on the shelf.
Was okay. So when did you go to Atlanta? When did you actually leave Milwaukee? I almost remember.
2012.
Okay. So what? You were pretty much in Milwaukee like 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Cool.
5 years or so, 5, 7 years, and it was. I got a real job because I was like, okay, I want to have some money. I want to, be able to fund this. Because the problem is when you're a musician and you broke and you're just doing this by the seat of your ass,
Right.
it's like you put all this money into recording it, especially if you go into a studio. And back then, like home recordings and recording your stuff on your laptop, that wasn't as easy
Yeah,
as
and
it
it
is now.
and it was harder to get to any sort of professional sound for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And YouTube, trying to figure out how to work your compressors and all this stuff. It was shitty then.
It wasn't as much, informational and totally. 100%.
Exactly. So you spend all this money on making this recording, but then when it comes to the actual promotion of it, most bands, it ended with the CD release party.
Yeah, exactly, which in a way you could almost do that at multiple shows. Just continue the release party, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Or you were just like, all right, we're just selling it at the shows, but there wasn't any other kind of coordinated, media release or being savvy about it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. It has to be continuous. It just has to keep. The marketing never ends, essentially.
It doesn't.
It's a whole nother, aspect of it, but all right.
It never ends, and it requires a lot more discipline than most people realize. And you also kind of have to not give a fuck. Like the idea of like, okay, you're gonna have to sell to your friends, and your family. You're gonna have to sell, and they already kind of, most of them take you for granted anyway.
Right.
But you can't let that get to you because this is your path.
Yeah.
But
Well, and a lot of that almost feels like it sucks the soul out of what got you to create the art in the first place. You know what I mean? Now you have to like almost turn into this salesman of sorts or know how to market yourself. And it's like, a lot of times all you really have to go off of is like, well, how do the bands that I love do it? You know?
Yeah.
And that doesn't always work per se, but yeah, I know what you mean. But I always had the issue like, yeah, a lot of older friends or family never like expected me to do much with it. So then when you do, it's almost like this big, surprise. And it's like I said I was serious from the beginning now. But,
yeah.
But I don't know. It is what it is.
No, you're right. You're right. And it's like when you're dealing with your family, you kind of have to have everybody else into you. There's sometimes like your moms are usually like, oh, this is what my son's doing. This is so great, blah, blah, blah. Right. But sometimes they have to hear from the outside.
Exactly.
To be like, oh, shit.
Well, and it's like, and that's almost like slightly easier now with social media because now they can see like the recognition you have or whatever the hell that means as opposed to, back, what do you like? You try to convince your family or friends. I just played this big show. I swear, like there was people there. Like I don't know. My song's on the radio. Like you never listen to Milwaukee radio. Shit. Oh.
Yeah. So like they're like whatever.
Like cool. Yeah, right. You're on the radio. Okay. But
no, yeah. I had this one uncle, and this is when I thought it was a turning point for me in Milwaukee, in particular, where he's like, "Hey, Brandon. Your Uncle George, I hear you have a hot band in Milwaukee." Like,
hell yeah! Like, who told you, man?
Yeah, I never told you this. Somehow you heard from somebody, or you heard it firsthand.
Yeah, and it's funny. That's what it takes, though. It takes an outsider to give them like that different perspective of you, because you can't like. I guess at the end of the day, you can't blame them for whatever. Whatever perspective they already have of you, because it's like it's some childhood thing or something, that's just attached to you. Like, well, this is how I view him. He's my nephew or he's my son or whatever, So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's more fuel, right?
Yeah, it's fine. But it's it's one of those things, when it imprints on you emotionally. I feel like as much strength I gotten through being a musician in this career path, there's been a lot of hits.
Oh yeah.
And hits that you don't ever expect, where it's like, okay, you get people who are interested in you, finally get some kind of love, but then the people that you want to take it seriously,
right,
think it's a joke or it's a hobby, or you know what I mean? And eventually, some people, depending on who they are, you get rid of them because you don't need that around you. You never need those doubters like that. You need people who got your back.
Right. Sometimes I've honestly thought of like, what if all the people who like discouraged you like encouraged you? Like, where might you be? But then it's also like, well, maybe they were like, part of your angst or what was fueling you to be an artist in some ways. But, it's, I don't know, it's something to think about, I guess. But because it seems like the power of encouragement and positivity can just like do so much for people. And when, like you said, when you actually get surrounded by people who are really into what you're doing, it can do wonders, And it's almost like, just you can have 10 people who are showing you all this love, and then just like one person who hates on your stuff, and it just fucks up your whole day. You're just like in the same day, like 10 people are like, you're awesome, and then just that one person is like, God damn it.
Yeah. They're like, you trash. You're fucking trash.
So we suffer as artists. We're too fucking sensitive. We're like, well, shit, man. I put my heart into that. Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are, especially now, man. People are haters and trolls and sitting behind a screen or a computer to express yourself, not seeing people in person. You know, at least something like this, I can like see your emotions or hear the tone of your voice. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
but
And
always haters, right?
say again?
Always gonna be haters.
Always going to be haters. And one thing I would say too, when dealing with the haters, um, I learned that okay, I separate myself from the art because once it's created, it's like everybody's. It's not
Mm-hmm.
me anymore. This was
Right.
like a something separate of me.
Mm-hmm.
So you could talk trash, like music's trash. I hate your sound. I hate your production. And I was
Right.
generally like, okay, keep it rolling. When there's personal attacks,
Yeah.
that's where it's like, okay, depending on what the attack is, like it has less or more credence to it. But
Yeah.
you kind of have to even just like,
Psychologically fucks with you.
yeah.
But yeah, it's brutal, man. But well, let's not focus on those negative.
No, we're moving
people
forward.
out
We
there.
got other shit happening.
All right, how long did the Love Is Loud last? Or how many albums you guys put out?
So, the Love Is Loud had, I would say, 3 albums that were released.
Cool.
A bunch of material that just never got out, but
Right.
3 albums that was released. There was one, actually no, 4 albums. I forgot 4 albums. So there was the first, the second, first one, which was like the aborted Blackberry record.
Almost the third Blackberry album.
It was almost the second Blackberry album.
Also, the second one.
Yeah, the second one was actually like, all right, I still got this material. I need to put it out. I spent the money, and I
Right.
finished it. So that became
I
the
see.
second. That became the first Love Is Loud record.
Oh, gotcha.
Then there was another record that was recorded at the Lincoln Warehouse in Bayview in Milwaukee, where that was the breakup, and that was actually a pretty solid record. I stand behind that. I worked with Jameson Thorwald from Beloit on that record, and we actually got a really good sound.
Right on.
Then there was I released 2 records at once in Atlanta. In the Atlanta period, there was some good songwriting, but the production dipped a level or two.
Just by the studio access, or why
the
did
songs
it
were
dip?
great,
Why did the production dip? You're just gonna like access the studio, or
well, that's when we started really doing home recording, home studio stuff.
still trying to figuring it out, like the process, or
Figuring it out, but the thing is, if we did it very kind of punk rock, I think the record would have been just fine.
mm-hmm.
And maybe not have done 2 records at once. Like that's just a lot of focus.
Yeah, or taking like the best songs out of the 2 sort of thing, even.
Yeah, it's like you just don't. You can't. The energy is scattered amongst like 25 songs, 30 songs, as opposed to doing like 10.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we were also, my guitarist really wanted to have something that had like a pop sheen to it and be really polished. And there's nothing worse than trying to have a pop sound, like a pop level production, but not achieving that.
Right. Yeah. Well, or just like, yeah, you almost like put certain effects or use certain sounds to give you that, but it doesn't actually give you the pop sound you want. I think I get what you're talking about.
Yeah. It was like this weird mix of like what I would say mid-fi and hi-fi. And it just, when you're working with digital stuff, there's digital artifacts that you need to account for, and
Right.
it was just I'm not gonna say it wasn't good because there was definitely some bangers on that recording session, but by that point, I played out of the whole post punk sound. I felt like that sound already got picked apart by like real pop producers and just kind of exploited.
Right. Right.
And it was just like, it sucked. So I kind of spent the next 3 4 years after that point really just trying to find what's the new sound, where's the next direction, what's the next focus.
And this was like you're still in Atlanta, but eventually.
Yeah. Atlanta, by the end of Atlanta, I kind of, I pretty much left that sound behind in Atlanta, what I was doing.
Okay.
Atlanta, there's a lot of wonderful people there, but when it comes to the music scene, I think it's highly overrated.
Hmm.
Highly overrated.
Interesting.
It's exploitative. It's the most capitalistic,
Ah.
exploitive place I've ever lived.
Really?
Like there
I
were
could
so
see
many
that though.
scams
Oh damn.
that were trying to, pointed towards musicians, scams pointed towards songwriters.
Right.
There was a lot of scam artists.
Damn.
And then because of like the income inequality issue there were a lot of people who were just barely holding on to like a place to live and they're trying to create.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You were much better off being in Athens, Georgia
Ah,
than Atlanta.
yeah, I've heard good things about Athens. Athens, actually. I've spent a little time. Well, not down there. I guess that's the other side of the state, but like Savannah. But yeah, people hype up Atlanta a lot. But anytime I've actually gone through there, it's always been really hard to work or just hard. I mean, I guess it's saturated with a lot of musicians, I would imagine. But I guess that kind of can like decrease the quality. It's kind of quantity over quality, and like you said, people trying to scam you, and that sucks.
Well, the thing is, you probably never got to play a show in Atlanta because the Atlanta scene,
I played a
there's
brewery.
very
That was
few
it.
venues. Huh?
I played a brewery. That was it.
Oh, which one?
Oh man, what was it? It was a big one.
Sweetwater.
It wasn't Sweetwater. It was
Monday Night Brewery?
Oh man, I could find out if I looked, but I used to play this other place that was one of those small like suburban towns. It was called Moondogs. Right outside of Atlanta, but I can't remember what that brewery was called. It wasn't Sweet. Is there another one that's water or something that's not? Because I know Sweetwater is the one of the most popular.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was some like afternoon. Big warehouse. People are playing, toss the beanbag thing or whatever.
I've been out of that beer scene for like 4 or 5 years, so I can't. There's probably like 2 or 3, 4 or 5 new breweries there.
Oh yeah, there's so many new breweries. It's crazy.
Yeah, but the thing is, to book a show, unless you get lucky like that in Atlanta, you have to know the booking agents in the area, and they have to know you and get friendly with you. If they know you, because I went through like a almost like a recording professional group agency. If they know you, then all of a sudden, like those Friday and Saturday shows that you weren't able to book, you're starting to get it, and you're starting to open up for a bigger acts.
Huh.
But if they don't know you,
right,
the best you could do is maybe a Sunday night.
So
or
it's
a
just kind
Tuesday
of
show.
so yeah. It literally is all in who you know. It doesn't matter what skills you got or even following. If you haven't gotten to know these people yet, you won't actually get booked.
Exactly.
Which is
And there's
like,
no place,
yeah,
there's no
snobby.
such thing. If you're doing like rock and roll, there's no training venue for you. So like in Milwaukee, there's
damn.
areas where like, okay, I'm starting out. I suck, but I just got out of the basement. The River West Commons is gonna play me. You know.
Oh yeah. Or there's how
Yeah.
many open mics to go to, you know?
Yeah.
Like every day of the week almost, yeah.
In Atlanta, the open mics you have to most likely have to pay. They're all kind of paid. Then the better open mics are kind of these listening rooms, but the people who go to them, because like there was this one spot in Decatur, Georgia, which I don't recall the name right now, but John Mayer used to work there, and he built a following out of there.
Huh.
So the time when I used to do that open mic, everybody expected a John Mayer type character, and that's what people love. They ate that shit up. But if you came anything that was like left to center, something kind of weird or jazzy or whatever,
right?
Cricket.
So you had to do like the acoustic pop, serenading songs, so to speak. Oh
Yep.
shit! Damn. Well, that's all relative to the scene, you know. People determine what's popular, what they're into. Play me something familiar, goddammit. I don't want to hear nothing new. Wow.
Yeah, very, very conservative like that. Where in Athens, you're able to the B-52s and REM came from there. Of Montreal came from there. Dead Confederate came from there. So you got all these different types of bands, all from Athens.
Very unique, yeah.
Yeah, so you can just do weird shit there, and that's expected of you.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Well, at least they have that. And you think something as big as Atlanta, they would have like a section of that. You know, it's not just like dominated by this whatever, but I don't know.
The metal scene is where you got the most freedom. But even though they all kind of do the sludgy thing there.
Right.
But that's where I feel like there's much more of the community where you get the house performances. And same with the folk scene. If you're into folk music,
right,
there is a contingent of old hippies
that
will throw like folk parties in their house, and you have house concerts.
Yep. So what about what was like some of the more dominant genres? Was there like much of a blues genre, or is there
so in Atlanta
jam scene or
number one was hip hop?
Yeah.
Yep. Then it was like, I would say actually kind of pseudo left of center R&B.
Mm-hmm.
Then, and actually that's probably a step below the John Mayer kind of acoustic-y thing. Because that was actually really big then.
Right.
And then everything else is just like niche. You find your niche, you can get in, that's fine. But it wasn't that serious.
Okay. There wasn't like a big hippie scene? I always felt like, well, even with the Sweetwater 420 and all that.
Yeah, I mean that was there, but it was big. I guess that was a big scene, but it wasn't definitely like counterculture.
Oh, I see.
Same with the rave scene. You know, it's big there.
Totally.
But definitely counterculture. It wasn't like what you would hear on the radio. It wasn't what you would, random ass people. You wouldn't see this live.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. All right. Huh. Yeah, like I said, I never got the opportunity to play that scene much. And then when the places I did, they would always end up being like a place that wasn't always like a actual music venue, just like a brewery that would have music on the side, which a lot of times they can pay better, but it's not like you're always, you're more background music a lot of times. You're not that's the difference with the music venue. That's what they're there for. But all right, so when did you leave Atlanta? When did you get out of this madness?
I got out of there June of 2016.
Cool. And this was after 2 Love Is Loud albums there.
Yep.
And then you went to Chicago,
on the south side. Yeah. And I
Very
love the
bold.
south side of Chicago. Like people, give it a bad rep, but the south side to me, even though it's under-resourced compared to the north side, I was around probably the best group of musicians I've ever been around. and the best as far as skill level and savviness. Like there was a much more sophisticated
Huh.
crop of musicians that I played in and around.
Cool. Southside Chicago.
So outside of Chicago, and that's where I started my music school too,
Oh,
the Hyde Park School of Music.
right on, man.
So
And so, but you didn't continue the Love Is Loud name at this point.
at this point, I pretty much dropped that name. It was
You're just going by your own
like
name.
there might have been a show or two where like there's a venue like, well, we play bands here, like we don't do solo acts. So
Ah,
I just put that on there, and then I just said you could drop the name if you, but it's a fucking band.
right, right. I get what you're saying. So it's just
Yeah,
Brandon Payton, but it's yeah. People do that all the time, obviously.
yeah,
Okay, so you're surrounded by a good group of musicians, and then you start your own school.
yeah, yeah.
Crazy,
So
man.
what I
How did
was
this
doing
come
after I
about?
left my corporate job, because I had a couple corporate jobs,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I'm like, that's when I had to be in the belly of the beast to realize how much of an anti-capitalist I was.
Mm.
And
That's
from
what it takes
there, I was like,
sometimes,
fuck
right?
this, I got to do something different. So I started teaching first guitar, then voice, then piano, then randomly like ukulele and all these other instruments kind of come in there.
Right.
Um, so I learned how to teach while I was in Atlanta. So by the time I was in Chicago and I got to Chicago, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can get in and teach somewhere. Well, I noticed in the south side of Chicago, only music that was being taught like outside of like high school
Yeah.
was like classical Suzuki music.
Right. Which isn't too appealing to most, I would imagine.
Exactly. And here we are on the south side of Chicago, which is like 700,000 people on the south side of Chicago alone.
Wow.
And the musical options like that were limited.
That's the size of Milwaukee.
Yeah. Yeah. The south side is the size of Milwaukee. And I was like, yo, there's an opportunity here for me to start something.
And so then you took some of your corporate experience and applied that to starting it? Or
In a
kind of?
sense, I kind of did the exact opposite of my corporate experience from what I learned.
What you learned from that, yeah.
So the Hyde Park School of Music is a 501c3 nonprofit. So we provide a service, and that's our charity. We're able to take donations and try to distribute music and bring music to people. My instructors travel. We go to you, or we're doing virtual because of the whole pandemic thing.
Right.
But our goal is to make music education accessible and have a focus on music on the south side of Chicago that was like indigenous to the south side of Chicago, where like actual musicians who were working what they got famous off of playing, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Dude, that is really cool, man.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's
So
been really cool and fulfilling, and I've been really trying to up our internal democracy as well to be a
mm,
much more. I love co-ops, worker co-ops, and consumer
yeah,
co-ops,
most
and I'm
definitely.
inspired by that model. So I'm trying to increase the democracy
Mm.
year after year.
So when did the school officially open?
Officially opened the fall of 2016.
Oh shit! So like quickly after you moving there, you
Yeah.
like determined to do this, and you guys have like a main location.
We're actually pretty decentralized. So right now we have a physical location in which was donated to us. So we have time. We do free lessons out of there, which is the
Mm-hmm.
Dorchester Arts and Housing Collaborative, which is just outside of Hyde Park, but it's in Chicago on the south side.
Cool.
Um, but we're working on trying to raise funds to have our own brick and mortar location so we can do group lessons and do seminars whenever we want do maybe parties,
Cool.
that sort of thing.
And
Um,
tell me the school name again.
Hyde Park School of Music.
Awesome, man. And
And we opened a Milwaukee branch called the Lake Beat Music Academy.
no kidding. Do you guys work with like Pathfinders by chance, or anywhere, any resource centers in Milwaukee? Or
Um, no, right now we work with there's certain other nonprofits we work with. I just have to build relationships. If you think
cool.
if you have someone that like we should work with and that
Yeah.
it aligns with our mission,
Well, that's
I'm
the
I'm with it.
so that was the kind of the one other job I had besides trying to make a living when I was in Milwaukee is doing social work. I worked at a resource center, Pathfinders, and while I was actually working there, I incorporated an open mic, which we did that every Tuesday. And then what originally started as my own studio equipment, I like ran a studio out of the back, and they actually ended up donating like a actual good Mac computer and whatnot with GarageBand and all that to do the studio. And it continued on for a while after I left. Like I even volunteered for a while, but I always thought it'd just be a really cool idea to like that should be at like almost every resource center, just to like because the kids were like totally into it. The age range was like 15 to 25, and everyone was about it, man. So it was really cool. So seems
See,
like it
I want to
connect
do
with something
that.
like that.
Like part of the school, that yeah, educating, but then I want to have that resource to do
Mm.
something like that. So that's actually a pretty good. I'm gonna make a note of that. Reach out to them because
Well, and then there's multiple other centers like that, and I know other ones. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but yeah, some of them are even more like developed in that studio aspect and what have you. But it's totally a great outlet because, like I said, so many people are into it, and especially nowadays with social media, like so many people can be independent artists and whatnot, which is a whole nother route of teaching people. Like we were just talking about earlier, the whole marketing route. Like, hey, if you really want to do this, you got to learn this shit too. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
but yeah, man, that I would definitely reach out to them. I actually, I worked there to almost 2012, so it's been a while, but definitely keep in contact with a lot of the employees and a lot of the clientele. They're like pretty known rappers in Milwaukee now, so
Yeah.
they started recording at the studio I created, so it's pretty cool. But that sounds awesome, man. Hyde Park School of Music,
Yeah.
and so and you stayed in Chicago how long? And this continues to go on the school.
I stayed in Chicago for 2 years, and it was a situation where my wife, like, I was like, when we met in Atlanta, I'm like, let's just fucking move to Milwaukee. This is gonna be great. And she's like, I love Milwaukee, but I don't know if it's city enough for me because she's from
Ah,
DC,
I see.
and I'm like, oh, come on, come on. But okay, let's compromise. Let's do Chicago. And if you happen to fall in love with Chicago, we'll stay in Chicago. Chicago's really close to Milwaukee.
Right.
And, I've always had a good time in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
After 2 years of being in Chicago, she's like, fuck it, let's go to Milwaukee.
Well, Milwaukee's like I like to say it's like a neighborhood type of city. You know what I mean? We don't have too many of those high-rise buildings, or they're only in like one little area. And I guess Chicago has that too, but like you said, it's that much bigger. So
Chicago is a hard city to live in. Like, A, you got to have a lot more money than Milwaukee. I don't to say a lot more money, but you got to have more money
right,
in Milwaukee and Chicago to exist in Milwaukee at the same lifestyle.
right,
Then you have just the physical aspect of it is so huge. Like, I thought Atlanta was huge, but like Chicago, getting to one side of the south side from the other
yeah,
can be hours on public transportation.
right,
And then it's a city that's not car friendly.
true,
So, that just made it a difficult city just to exist in.
totally,
And also, I think too, Chicago has a lot of redundancy in its like lifestyle scenes and stuff. there's a lot of the same shit. Where Milwaukee, you might have one or two things, but they're awesome and it's easier to access as opposed to Chicago.
Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. Totally. Yeah, it seems like Chicago's just that much busier, and I don't know, maybe slightly harder to adapt to, but it definitely has a bigger city vibe, which it is one of the bigger major cities, I suppose. In the
Yeah, it's
Not
a
one of the
top tier
biggest, but
city. Like it's on the level of Paris as far as power and prestige and
ah,
strength.
totally. All
But
right, so you made it back to Milwaukee. What, by the end or by the late summer of 2018? Is that right?
correct.
Cool.
Yeah, and
And
yeah,
so
it's just a better speed. I haven't gotten as into the music scene here as
mm,
I did in Chicago. I'm kind of back and forth. I'm between because I have the school down there.
yeah, so saying how do you do it with the school? Do you just do more stuff like this or?
Yeah, so I only have two. I only have two students right now that I teach. The rest of them are for my instructors.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a bunch of instructors in Chicago. I have a couple here in Milwaukee,
Cool.
and I'm kind of the conduit more than I am now the actual teacher.
Oh, okay.
So, but I go down to Chicago. I try to go weekly to just always interact with the people I know, the musicians I know. I've met a lot of really great musicians down there, as I said before, but
Oh yeah.
folks are like popping off, doing some cool shit. But so I try to keep in touch with them, and then I try to build up in Milwaukee, like try to find my place because you gone for like 6 7 years.
Oh yeah.
The scene is different. People moved on.
Yeah.
There are people who recognize you, and so it's a lot easier to kind of get back into it. But yet you're
You
trying to
gotta.
figure out. And now I'm doing like a whole different type of music, which makes it
Yeah.
complicated.
Well, you gotta adapt anyways. Yeah, and then especially if you're doing a different thing. So, are you just going by your name now, and you kind of have since Chicago?
Pretty much, Brandon Payton-Carrillo. Um, I'm really over the last 15 years. I really kind of became more enlightened with myself and who I am, like culturally.
Mm.
Being Afro Latino, like
Right
most
on.
folks, they didn't realize it because they see me as black.
Right.
It's like being a mixed kid, where like they see you as black,
Totally.
but then unless they see you speaking Spanish or whatever, which I do, it's like
I didn't know this about you, so yeah, shit.
yeah.
Crazy.
So
So you're kind
I'm
of
really
trying to embrace that more.
trying to embrace that more, and it's being reflective in my music. So there's like this indie, this rock vein to it, but I'm using a lot of like Latin rhythms and things,
Mm.
Afro-Cuban and cumbia. So that's like Afro-Colombian. There's a little bachata. There's a little bit of um, reggaeton.
Ah,
But
cool.
yeah, but yet, and half the songs are in English, half the songs are in Spanish.
Nice. That's dope, man. And so, and have you been kind of just putting out more individual songs, or is there a there's not a self-titled name album, is there?
Not yet. So
Okay, yeah.
that's coming hopefully June. I'll have a single that would hit May 1st.
Cool.
But the video of that single's already out. I've been putting out a couple
Yeah, I thought I saw a
like found
video.
footage videos. Yeah,
What's the latest video? What's that one?
the latest one is called Dime otra vez, which translates to "Tell Me Again."
Right on. And that's gonna be
Yeah,
out officially May 1st. You said?
yeah, that's gonna hit digitally Spotify and all the other distributors May 1st. But you can hear the song on YouTube. You just type in Brandon Payton-Carrillo, Dime otra vez.
Cool. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
And so tell me again. You said? Tell me once again.
yeah, it's like yeah, tell me again, essentially.
And And so
But
it's
the
just a
plot
lot.
of the song essentially
All right.
this is more of a party song, a moody party song where it's kind of imagine like, yeah, you know what? I know you love me, but tell me again. You know,
I gotcha. That's
yeah.
cool. That's cool. A little
And it has an
flirtatious in there.
awesome sax solo by a guy. His name is Danny
Hmm.
Slore, but he plays in a band called Marbin. They're
Cool.
kind of a jazz fusion band from
Milwaukee band.
Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. Cool.
Yeah, he lives in Milwaukee, but his band is based in Chicago. But I mean, wicked saxophone solo.
Hell yeah. That's cool,
Yeah,
man. Appreciate a good sax player.
hell yeah. I didn't know I appreciated one and horn players or woodwind players. That's something that I really was like. I need to have this in my music. Like
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago.
And it's huge. It's such a different thing, especially, obviously, I guess you don't do much wind yourself, or if at all. So then it can add that other element that, like, man, I couldn't even try to imitate this. You know what I mean? Because, yeah, I don't do any wind instrument. Well, I do harmonica, I suppose. So
Yeah.
that's the easiest one there is.
Well, it's a weird thing because like to me it adds squiggles to my music.
Mm. Yeah.
Like rhythmically, a lot of the stuff I do is very kind of precise. You know, I'm kind of have almost a mathematic approach to a lot of things outside of my vocals, which is a
Right.
little bit more fluid and squiggly. But like
Flowing.
when I play with a horn player, they add extra squiggles, which I really love.
That's cool. That's a good way to describe it. The squiggle. The squiggle flow. It flows through
Yeah.
the music. Right on. Well, shit, man. I guess we pretty much told your musical life story there. So you still continue the school, still playing and recording actively, just kind of maybe not quite as much as you were a decade ago, but still got the passion for it.
Still
Never
got the
never
passion.
stopped writing.
Yeah, still
And you
writing, still activism has become a big part of my thing. So I did a Bernie Sanders show in the primaries in Dubuque this year.
Oh, right
I
on.
want to do more stuff like that, more protest songs, more you know, really merging my passion of the solidarity economy and creating an alternative to capitalism with music.
Most
Um,
definitely. That's awesome, man.
Working on building a internet ISP. So these are all things I'm I'm doing, but I just got to try to
It's all in the process.
all in the process of trying to find and create a new world and a new me.
Right. That's what it's all about, man. That's almost like music. It gives you that freedom. It's the beginning of that freedom in a sense, because it's almost like that sparked the idea of all of it in a sense, or embracing that art, that side of you, I guess, right? Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, and then also too with us being fathers,
Oh
like
yeah. Phew.
we got to build a better world, build a world that's better than how we found it.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And it's I guess you can almost recognize more once you become a parent of maybe how some of our parents didn't set up the future the best.
Yeah,
Whatever. It's all a learning process. It's all what we experience and what have you. So, but well, shit. Anything else you want to put out in the ether or promote or
man,
let
I
people
just
know about you?
if you're into lessons, we do online lessons through the Hyde Park School of Music. You can find that at hydeparkschoolofmusic.org.
Right
Um,
on.
just look up Brandon Payton-Carrillo. Just check in. I got the BrandonPaytonCarrillo.com. You'll get some updates on things there. But beyond that, take this opportunity to love one another, love yourself, and try to envision the change you want to see in the world and get involved. Like,
Mm.
podcasts are a great way to do that. Volunteering, you know, whatever, because we need it at this time.
Most
And I just
definitely.
want to be an inspiration to people like, hey, you can do this. I did this. We grew up together. I'm
Right.
just a dude just like everyone else. And You're just a dude like everyone else,
Yeah, exactly.
and we're doing shit. So
We just embrace something that I guess was strong enough to continue, and that's continued to fuel us all this time. But when I think especially right now, with everyone being forced to be at home, it can put things into perspective, and like especially like with the whole capitalism thing, like see what happens when we're forced to be like this, when most of the people don't have savings, or people spend today, don't think about tomorrow, and all that stuff. I think it can be a really reflective time, and I guess maybe in some ways when you already don't think in that on those terms in a capitalistic society terms, you're almost slightly more at least mentally prepared for something like this, I suppose. Hopefully people are financially stable, or most of us aren't, but I always kind of think like that. So, and especially like you said, even more as a father, it's just more, what do you want for the future, right? And what's even going to come out of this? What is the future right now? Like a lot of us are kind of scratching our heads. So I don't know.
exactly.
But
There's an opportunity in this crisis, and unless we realize, like, whoa, because there's a lot of great mutual aid work and people coming together to help one another. This
right.
can be. This doesn't have to be just for emergencies. This can be the rule, not the exception.
Exactly. And it's just like to put things on pause for a second can just help you realize, like, what are we actually chasing on a daily basis? Like, what are our actual goals? Like, what are we trying to achieve? Because like sometimes I wonder if people are that uncomfortable right now because they just can't handle not having a busy life. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's good to slow down sometimes. I think it's good to kind of take a break. And I mean, yeah, like we're forced to right now, but there's definitely benefits from it, obviously. So
Yeah. If
but
you're not in a situation where you're dying or you're going to be destitute, yeah, this is a perfect time to reflect.
mm,
If you are in that situation, there are resources. I know one of the organizations I've been associated with for years, like Democratic Socialists of America. There's a lot of mutual aid projects that are going on across the country, and they can direct you to one of them or resources if you're in a dire situation. If you want to help out, they have places to kind of put you in so that you can help out and get involved. Same with some of the more kind of anarchist organizations, Food Not Bombs,
oh yeah,
uh,
definitely.
Symbiosis,
Hell
those
yeah.
things.
And all those people and organizations are much appreciated, and it's unfortunate, a lot of people are struggling right now, but I don't know. It can be motivating to change for the better, right? Hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Bernie just dropped out. Fuck.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. I think obviously a lot of his values and morals are kind of like coming to light. They're almost like forced to come to light. But it's like, hello, isn't this kind of what we need anyways? Regardless of a situation like this. But I guess sometimes we gotta like hit rock bottom in order to start getting better, right?
Yeah.
Which maybe we did.
4 more years of Trump. That's going to be rock bottom.
Ah, fuck. Right?
Yeah. And then, but the seeds have been planted. So now the next generation of Bernie type politicians have now
Mm,
started to arise and show promise.
right.
And then they'll come into power. And the rest of us who maybe aren't politicians, there is a such thing as called dual power. And we can build these institutions outside of government. If
Right.
we think that I only look to government to do this, the people who have control of government will always control us.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And that's even like how states are picking up the slack right now, depending on what state you're in. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So yeah, it's the same idea. We can organize as our own small groups or individuals to, benefit our society, benefit our communities, really. So
Yeah.
that's always an awesome and appreciative message. So, yeah, man, it was great talking to you. Anything else you want to put out there? I guess.
I'm good, man. I just love talking to you. I think you're great.
Thanks,
I
Brand.
love what you're
Appreciate
doing.
it.
I love to see your progression as a musician and uh, a mover and shaker.
Thank you, man.
That we're on. I'm glad that we're on this journey together.
Yeah, man, and I like I said, I appreciate that there's someone else like you who can still continues to pursue it and is still this passionate about it. So, yeah, I've always been a fan of your stuff, and it's cool that you're going in this different direction, man. I guess over the years of all these bands you just mentioned, you could definitely hear a transition or progression throughout, anyways. But now it almost seems a little more obvious, so to speak, with your new sounds, because I did catch that video. I think, what'd you put out, like a month ago, I want to say, or a couple weeks?
Yeah, a couple weeks
Yeah,
to a month. Yeah,
and I was like, wow, this is something different. Like, you're surprising me, man. I like it. So
yeah. You gotta change it up. We're not. If we stay the same, we die.
oh yeah, most definitely, and we die quicker,
Yeah,
faster.
I keep moving.
All right, man. Well, it was great talking to you. Thanks for being on the podcast. And yeah, actually, it takes a little while to edit these things, so it won't be out for like a month or so. But maybe I can get it out right around that May 1st thing. That could be cool.
All right, that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've seen the clips. Like, I'll do little 7-minute clips that are just like purposely promoting a song, or one could be like reminiscing about that Blackberries song, and you're talking about that. And was there a music video for that, or is it just like a promo style?
Blackberry stuff. There were no music videos, just because, man, we couldn't afford a camera.
Was maybe like a live performance at Pride Fest or something out there?
There is
YouTube?
something I could. I'm about to dig through like.
Well, if it's on YouTube,
physical media, to find some video footage.
If anything's on YouTube, I can get it. I mean, it might, if someone wants to take it down, whatever. But I'll snatch it in the meantime.
There is some stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there is one video, a couple videos. Like, I went on tour with James Redding of Union Pulse.
Yeah.
And we would switch off on that tour. And there's a couple clips that you could probably pull live footage of. Cool. From that era, particularly a San Francisco show in 2010. Cool. But you might be able to find it under Blackberries and Union Pulse, or Brandon Payton-Carrillo and Union Pulse. But
okay, right on.
You'll definitely
Union Pulse.
There was definitely some video footage then.
Yeah, James still doing his thing in Nashville, right? Should get him on here.
Yeah.
That's cool, dude.
Did you ever participate into his Song a Week thing?
I did. I think it was 2009, the Lemon Lounge. Or no, not the song. I'm talking about old school. Yeah, no, Song a Week. I didn't do that actually. No,
this was this is basically a group of songwriters who submit try to write a song a week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't write a song a week. I just don't got that time. But
yeah, try.
You try whenever you got new stuff. That's when I will submit, kick it in, and we just kind of listen to everybody's stuff. There's some people who are really great. There's a bunch of folks that suck, but we give feedback of what we liked and dug about a particular song.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, there were like end of the year like shows where we would get together. So like one year a couple years it was in New York City, and I'd go out to New York and I would do a short set, and we'd hang out and we'd all meet each other from this group.
That's cool, man. Oh yeah. So it'd be like after a year of kind of going through everything, and that's fucking cool. Yeah, I definitely am familiar with the group. I should look into that more.
Yeah, I guess Week, I think it's, or you can find it at his website, jamestristanredding.com. But
okay, cool. And is Facebook the main place people can find you, or do you have an actual website?
Yeah, my actual website is BrandonPayton-Carrillo.com.
Okay, perfect.
Payton-Carrillo, all one word. Right. There's 2 R's in Carrillo, 2 L's in Carrillo.
Perfect.
So yeah,
And then find you on the social media
yeah. Got a
madness.
Twitter. I'm not. I gotta get better at Twitter. I
Yeah, I don't use it.
I it's you know what, I like it better than Facebook, but at the same time, you don't have to deal with all the bullshit
Yeah.
on Facebook as you do on Twitter.
Yeah, they both have their pros and cons, and
Yeah.
I just never found a whole lot of use for Twitter, but I definitely get annoyed with all the shit on Facebook, so it'd be nice to deal without that. But all right, man, it was great talking to you.
Yeah. Good
Uh,
talking to you.
yeah, I'd love to have you back on. Stay in
Yeah.
touch, and I'm always paying attention, always checking you out, checking out the music. Keep my ears
Anytime you need
open.
me, I'll make time for you. I got a flexible schedule.
Yeah, right, we all
And
do right now, huh? But
where
yeah,
are you at now? Are
anyways,
you in Boston or something?
I'm in Vermont. Yeah, so my
Vermont.
wife's originally from here. I'm like 12 miles from Canada, man. So I'm like northern
Wow,
Vermont.
so you're way up there.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm
How
like,
do
I
you
don't know, half hour from New Hampshire, and yeah, 10 minutes, 15 minutes from Canada. So I'm up there, man. So it's pretty rural. We have some really nice land and whatnot. The music scene's kind of weak, but I still make do. Still can play enough to make a living and all that jazz. So gotta
how far are you
hustle.
from Burlington?
That's the other side of state. That's about 2 hours, and that's where there actually is a good music scene. And yeah, I've gotten the opportunity to a couple big shows over there, that general area. And occasionally I'll bounce down to like Boston or upstate New York, Maine. Boston's like 3.5 hours from me, so
Okay.
not too
Ain't that bad.
bad. Go a little farther in the summer, sort of thing, but you know. It can be brutal winters up here, somewhere. Well, worse in Wisconsin, I should say.
Wow.
You guys get that lake effect, so I don't know.
Well,
The Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, you get the lake effect, but it's rare. Unlike Buffalo, where they get the lake effect like just
Oh
whenever the wind
yeah.
blows.
I mean, I would compare where I'm at similar to like Green Bay or more north. Just it's a little colder and you get a little more snow up there than
Hmm.
compared to Beloit or Milwaukee.
Okay.
That's southern Wisconsin, but Vermont's small as shit, man. Very small state. So
Yeah, I want to go. So and I know the wife and I have been talking about trying to go up there. So we'll definitely hit you
yeah,
up.
yeah. Let me know,
Um,
man. Anytime. Better
yeah,
to
'cause,
come in the summer, obviously, but
yeah,
it's definitely a cool spot. For sure. A lot of scenic routes and mountains and very cool. So very liberal for the most part.
yeah, yeah. You
I,
got this Bernie Sanders land.
yeah, well, I'm actually in this weird corner of the state that isn't, but it's all good. I make do.
It happens. Yeah,
I stand out like a sore thumb either way, so whatever. But
yeah,
all right, man, it was great talking to you. Let's stay in touch.
for real. We shall. I'll be checking out more past clips of the podcast, and yeah,
Yeah,
let's always whenever you got new material, send it my way.
hell yeah.
Let's try to create a network of this because I think that's one of the things with us musicians that aren't like 1920. We gotta have to
Well, and that's what
really
I
create.
always like. As I said, I try to do with the clips. For the most part, I try to have original artists as guests. So like with because only so many people are gonna watch the full episode, or people have
Mhm.
time to. But like the clips, they're short, and they're like really use like I said, for original artists for promotional videos. So you can it's like we just like created our own interview, like similar to
Yeah,
like a radio thing, or like once you add like a live aspect to it, or when you actually have a music video, it just gives it that extra thing. So that could actually be a really cool idea because I have a group for the podcast too, so that could be another way to kind of like highlight everyone who's on here because you already
yeah,
get the clips, and then you say like, hey, here's actually one of their songs, one of their videos, yada yada. So that's a great idea, man. It's all about networking, right?
for real. And that's what I loved about Chicago. Like those guys, they all know each other on the
Mm-hmm.
South Side. Grant, I got into like the free jazz scene there,
Oh,
but they all know each other. And so what winds up happening is like a lot of the horn players and folks that I know, they got signed to this one label called
Ah,
International Anthem,
cool.
which is now blowing up. Like, just if you ever got some time and you want just some cool ass like modern hip jazz that's relevant to our lives, not like sound like a timepiece from like the 50s or 60s, but something like
Right. Modern
check
jazz.
out
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah check
What are they
out this
called?
shit because it's
International beat?
anthem,
Anthem. Okay. Hell yeah.
international anthem.
Easy enough to remember.
Like all of their artists are fire. My favorites are the guitarist Jeff Parker, who used to be in Tortoise.
Oh. Hell yeah.
Um, there's a guy named Micaiah McCraven, who's a drummer who would like do improv sessions, but then he would sample and cut up his improvs into like this really cool jazz hip hop thing.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, and then Angel Bat Dawid, who's a vocalist and a clarinetist, and
Hmm.
her stuff is real spiritual, Afro futuristic,
Huh.
like
That
cool
sounds
shit.
cool, man. Hell yeah. International Anthem. I'll definitely look into that.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So
Thank you. Well,
yeah, I'll
thanks.
send you some clips too later. So, obviously, you probably got to run. I got to run, but I'll send you
Yeah,
some
but
shit via Facebook so you can just watch it as opposed to whatever.
yeah, for sure. And that it always seems like watching your video can get you into it more. Obviously, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Just what are we
I'll
doing
take
right
care of
now?
you
All right, man. Thanks again for being on. Appreciate it. Let's stay in touch, man. Keep fucking doing your thing. Keep putting out music.
for sure.
This is
Likewise.
you.
Love you, man. Take care.
Love you too, brother. Have a good one.